Hello, I'm Jill at engVid, and today we have a lesson on vocabulary and some of the differences between American words and British words. Well, it's confusing, isn't it? If I say English words, they speak English in America as well, so I have to say British or UK. There are different names, but the differences in some of the vocabulary, I have some examples here on the board. And just to clarify that I myself am in the UK, I'm British, I'm not American. So if you wonder what my accent is, I have a British accent or a UK accent. I don't have an American accent, okay, if you weren't sure. So, so here are some typical differences between the British UK word for something and the American and often Canadian as well word for the same thing, which I think, you know, people are aware of the differences. People who are native English speakers mostly do know both words, but they also know which their preferred one is based on where they're living. Okay, so I suppose if a UK person moved to America, they would gradually start using the different word that's used in America just to fit in and just to be clear, to avoid confusion. Okay, so let's have a look and see what we have here. So, trousers in the UK are usually called pants in America. So the trousers that people wear, women as well as men, wearing trousers, which is, I'm wearing trousers. I'm wearing some denim jeans today, which you probably can't see, but they are trousers. But in America, they would be called pants. And British UK people think it's quite funny, really, that trousers are called pants in America, because we have a different meaning for the word pants. And in the UK, pants are actually an item of underwear. So it causes a bit of, comedy sometimes to hear trousers described as pants if you're a UK person. So there we are, trousers in the UK, pants in America. Okay, so next one, we have a couple of things together here. When we throw things away in the UK, we throw them into the dustbin, which is a sort of usually a big plastic container with wheels outside the house. And it's a strange word, really, because dust is just sort of powder, dirt. So we throw a lot more things into that container than dust. But for some reason, going back many years, it's always been called a dustbin. The bin meaning a container, but we throw all sorts of things in the dustbin. And what we throw, we call it rubbish. But in America, they call it the trash, or a trash can is the container. The trash is the rubbish, but there's also the word garbage in America as well. So rubbish here in the UK, garbage in America, the dustbin in the UK, and the trash can in America. Okay. Right, so then these are very odd because a boot is usually what you wear on your feet, you know, shoes or boots. And then a trunk, you might think, oh, well, an elephant has a trunk. but there's another meaning for trunk as well. But this pair of words is actually to do with a part of a car. If you think of the back part of a car, where you lift it up, you open it up, and usually there's some space for storage. For example, if you're putting some luggage, some suitcases in the back of your car, the storage at the back, if you're going away somewhere, or you're taking something to somebody, it's a good place to store things. And you can lock it with a key if you want to. But we call that the boot, which is a strange word to use really for the back part of a car. I don't know really why it's called the boot, but there we are. So you put your luggage in the boot, you put your suitcases in the boot, or you may have a spare car tyre in the boot, just in case you have if your tyre has a problem on a journey, you can change and put a new tyre on. That might be stored in the boot as well. But in America, that part of the car is called the trunk. But there's also the meaning of a trunk can be a sort of big container that you keep in the house with a lid that you lift and you store things in a trunk. But here it's used as the back part of the car. So the boot or the trunk, depending on where you are. Okay. So, and then when you're writing and you come to the end of a sentence, in the UK, you put a full stop. Okay, a dot, but we call that a full stop. But in America, it's called a period. Okay, so that's another strange difference. We talk about the word period of time, a stretch of time, but in America it can also mean a dot at the end of the sentence, a full stop. Okay. And then a place where you live, if it's not a house, usually if it's on one level, it's called a flat, which is quite logical. It's just flat, no stairs, up or down. You may have to use stairs to get to it if you're on the first floor, second floor, third floor, flat. You have to get there by stairs, but within the flat itself, it's flat. So there is a logic to that word. But in America, it's called an apartment. Okay, apartment. I suppose because you're apart from other people, you're separate from other people. So, okay. Next one. Sometimes these words aren't, one thing in the UK and another thing in America. Sometimes we use both words. We mostly use the word holiday in the UK when you're not at work or you're not at school. You have a day's holiday or you go on holiday somewhere. In America, people tend to use the word vacation, although I think also they might use holiday or holidays in the plural with an S on the end, like the Thanksgiving holidays. So sometimes it varies a little bit, but generally holiday in the UK, vacation in America. Okay. And then we eat biscuits in the UK. Sometimes we do call them cookies, but cookies tend to be a bit bigger and more sort of chunky, thick, and more expensive too. I think usually if they have an unusual name, they tend to be more expensive. It's a bit like if you buy a gâteau rather than a cake. Gâteau is the French word for cake, and it will probably cost more than something described as a cake because it sounds more special if it's in French. So the same with biscuit and cookie. It may work in reverse in America. If they buy biscuits, it might sound a bit more traditional English, a bit special. So, but when we have cookies in the UK, they seem more special. So, because it's the more unusual word. But generally, biscuits in the UK, cookies in America. Okay, so next one. We tend to go to the shop to buy all sorts of things, either food or clothes, any kind of place where you go to buy something, charity shop, food shop, clothes shop. We do have something called a department store, so we do use the word store, but that's usually when it's a big shop with lots of separate sections selling different things. That's why it's a department store, because they have separate departments, one for perfume, one for clothes, one for hats, one for furniture, and so on. But the word store in America, I think, tends to be used for ordinary shops as well, although I think it can vary a little bit according to what part of America you're in. So you may find the word shop is being used in certain parts of America, perhaps more than others. But this is a kind of general difference. Mostly we call them shops. Maybe in America they mostly call them stores. Right, and the same applies for university and college. We tend to call it university in this country, in the UK, if people are studying for a degree, they've been to school, they've got to the age of 18, and then they want to do a degree from the age of 18 to 21 is the usual kind of age that people will go to university as an undergraduate and study maybe 3 years, maybe more, depending on what subject they're studying. They call it university. Also, they shorten it to uni sometimes. They just call it uni. I'm going to uni. But the full word is university. But in America, perhaps sometimes it's called college rather than university, but it still involves a degree course at that certain age of around 18 or 19 for about 3 years or more. Okay, and then finally some more food, because we like food. What we call chips in the UK, which is potatoes cut into, sort of like finger shapes, potatoes chopped up into shapes and fried. Very nice, are called chips. Quite a lot of different things are called chips, but that's one of them. You can have electronic chips as well, but that's a different thing. So chips that you eat made from chopped up potatoes which have been fried. But in America, they're called fries, again because they're fried. So they are fries, but they're potatoes cut up and fried, called fries. Okay. So there we are. I hope that's been a useful lesson for you to teach perhaps some new vocabulary, as well as to maybe clarify the difference between the UK and America, Canada. So there will be a quiz on this one. So if you'd like to test your knowledge, go to the website engvid.com and find the quiz and see how you do. And leave a comment in there as well if you'd like to. And so see you again next time. Bye for now.